At the edge of the galaxy, where stars looked thin and lonely, there was a place no one dared to cross. The maps of alien empires marked it only with warnings: unknown, forbidden, do not enter. It was said that beyond that border, ships vanished without trace, swallowed by silence. But the truth was stranger. Humanity had built something there. A station, hidden deep in a nebula of burning red gas, floated like a shadow. From the outside it looked broken, abandoned, nothing more than old steel drifting in dust. But inside, the lights glowed. Humans lived, trained, and guarded secrets powerful enough to burn entire worlds into ash. No alien had ever set foot inside. No alien ever would, at least, not alive. Commander Elara Vance stood at the main viewport of the station, her arms folded as she watched the shifting storms of the nebula. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She knew the rumors. Aliens whispered of death ghosts, who lived beyond the Starline, human soldiers who had mastered weapons forbidden by the galaxy. Most dismissed the stories as lies. But Elara knew the truth. The galaxy wasn't ready for what humanity had found. Behind her, heavy footsteps echoed. A tall soldier entered, his armor scratched but strong. His name was Kane, one of the oldest veterans of the Hidden Guard. "Commander," he said, his voice low, "we've picked up movement." Elara didn't look away from the viewport. "Another probe?" Kane shook his head. "Not this time. A ship. And it's not one of ours." For a moment, the silence between them was heavy. Aliens weren't supposed to be here. No species dared to approach the nebula. If they did, they were either fools or desperate. Elara finally turned, her black uniform catching the glow of red light. "Show me." The control room buzzed with life as officers focused on their screens. A projection appeared in the air, showing a small vessel moving slowly toward the nebula. Its design was curved and fragile-looking, not built for war. The markings on its hull were alien, one of the great trading species, the Volari. "They're scanning," an officer reported. "They don't know we're here yet." Kane grunted. "Then they're about to learn." But Elara raised a hand. "Wait." The officers stared at her. Waiting was dangerous. If the Volari found anything, they could report back. And once the galaxy knew humans were hiding here, everything would change. Elara, however, studied the ship carefully. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't even armed. It moved too slowly, its engines weak, almost limping. "Open a channel," she ordered. There was hesitation in the room. Humans had not spoken to outsiders in this place for decades. But the officers obeyed. A crackle of static filled the air, and then a thin, trembling voice spoke. "To any vessel, we request sanctuary, please. They are chasing us." Gasps moved through the control room. Kane's hand went to his weapon. "It's a trick," he growled. "They're trying to get inside." Elara narrowed her eyes. The voice was weak, almost broken. Whoever it was, they were desperate. "Patch it through," she said. The image shifted, showing the inside of the alien ship. A Volari captain, his skin pale and his crest bent with exhaustion, stared into the screen. His breathing was rough. Behind him, smoke and sparks drifted through a damaged cabin. "Please," he said again, his eyes wide. We know who you are. We know what you guard. They will kill us if we return. Only humans can save us." The room froze. Every soldier felt the same chill. Aliens weren't supposed to know. The galaxy wasn't supposed to suspect. But this one did. Elara's voice was calm, but every word was sharp. "How do you know what lies here?" The Volari captain swallowed. His voice shook. "Because we were forced to carry the message. The others, the ones hunting us, they want it. A weapon. The kind that could erase entire fleets. They made us bring it here. But we chose to run. We chose you. Humans." The control room went silent. Even Kane, who had fought on worlds most soldiers wouldn't dare to step on, looked uneasy. If the Valari were telling the truth, then the galaxy was moving closer to a secret that was never meant to be touched. Ilara felt the weight of decision press down on her shoulders. If she let them in, she risked everything. If she refused, the Valari would die, and the secret might fall into enemy hands. Her heart beat slower, heavier. She could almost hear the distant echo of the oath she had sworn long ago. Guard the secret. Protect it at any cost. Even if it means fire. But the Valari's last words cut through her hesitation. They are coming. And if they reach this place, not only your station, not only our worlds, the whole galaxy will burn. The projection crackled and died. Only silence remained. Ilara finally turned to her soldiers, her voice like steel. Prepare for contact. The warning still hung in the air like smoke. They are coming. The control room of the human station was tense, every soldier waiting for Commander Ilara's next order. Beyond the viewport, the alien ship drifted closer, lights flickering weakly as if it were already dying. Kane's hand rested on his weapon, his voice heavy with suspicion. It's a trap. They know too much. If we let them dock, we open the gates to whatever is chasing them. Ilara's eyes didn't move from the crippled ship. She could almost feel the fear pulsing from it, even through the silence of space. If it was a trick, it was a desperate one. If it was true, then something worse was on its way. Bring them in, she said at last. The officers hesitated, but her voice left no room for argument. The docking bay was prepared, shields shifting as the alien vessel was guided inside. Sparks burst from its hull as the clamps held it steady. When the bay doors opened, the stench of smoke and scorched metal poured out. Valari crew stumbled forward, their bodies thin, their movements weak. They looked nothing like warriors. They looked like prey. The Valari captain from the transmission stepped down last, his crest bent low, his eyes darting around the human soldiers who waited with rifles raised. He lifted his hands slowly. We surrender. We bring no harm. Kane's voice was a growl. You already brought harm the moment you came here. But Ilara raised her hand, silencing him. She stepped forward, her boots echoing against the steel floor. Up close, she could see how pale the alien captain was, how his breathing rattled. You said others are chasing you, she said. Who? The Valari lowered his head. They call themselves the KRYTH. Raiders. Slavers. But this time, they carry something worse. They found fragments of old human weapons. They want the rest. The words hit like a blade of ice. Human weapons. No alien should know they existed, let alone have fragments of them. Ilara's voice was calm, but her mind raced. Where did they find them? The Valari hesitated. His lips trembled before he whispered, On a world your kind abandoned long ago. The control room froze. Kane's eyes narrowed. Impossible. But Ilara knew it wasn't. She remembered the whispers, old missions, forgotten worlds, battlefields left behind after humanity vanished from the galaxy's stage. Perhaps some fragments had survived. Perhaps the galaxy was starting to pick up the pieces. She leaned closer. If they are coming here, why not run elsewhere? Why us? The Valari's voice cracked. Because only you can stop them. The other species, they fear the KRYTH. But the KRYTH fear you. They speak of humans as if you are demons in flesh. That is why they want your secrets, to erase their fear. If they succeed, no one will stop them. The station shook suddenly. Lights flickered. Sirens wailed. Contact! An officer shouted. Multiple signatures entering the nebula. Kane cursed under his breath, his hand gripping his rifle. They're here. On the viewport, dark shapes emerged from the burning red gas. KRYTH ships, jagged and sharp like blades, moved in formation. Their hulls were covered in glowing scars, symbols painted in blood-red light. They were not built for beauty. They were built for killing. Ilara's voice cut through the alarm. Battle stations. Shields at full. The station came alive, steel walls trembling as weapons powered up. Human soldiers rushed into position, their faces calm, their movements precise. This was why they existed, hidden in the dark, waiting for the day when the galaxy would push too close. The KRYTH ships began to circle, scanning, testing. Then one of them opened fire. The first blast struck the station's shields, sending ripples of blue light across the hull. The force rattled the walls, but the shield held. For now. Return fire, Ilara ordered. From the station's flanks, cannons erupted in white light. Explosions lit the nebula as one KRYTH ship shattered, torn into fragments that drifted like burning ash. But more ships pushed forward, undeterred, hungry. The Volari captain fell to his knees, clutching his chest as the ground shook. You cannot let them have it, he pleaded. If they reach your vault, if they take what you hide here, everything will fall. Kane pulled him up roughly. What do you know of the vault? The Volari's eyes darted, fear burning in them. Only that it is real. Only that you guard something, something no one should ever touch. Ilara didn't answer. She turned back to the viewport, her face carved in steel. The KRYTH were not testing anymore, they were preparing to strike with everything they had. One officer spoke quickly, his voice tight. Commander, if they keep pressing, shields won't last. They'll breach us within the hour. The words cut like a knife, but Ilara didn't flinch. She had known this day might come. She had known the galaxy could not stay blind forever. Her voice was low, but steady. Then we hold. No matter what it costs. Humanity guards the edge of the galaxy for a reason. And today, the galaxy will remember why. The KRYTH fleet shifted, weapons glowing brighter. The battle was only beginning. And deep below the station, locked behind doors thicker than starship hulls, the vault stirred. The station trembled again as another barrage slammed into its shields. Blue light rippled across the viewports, each strike heavier than the last. The KRYTH were not testing anymore. They were trying to break through. Commander Ilara stood tall in the control room, her hands clasped behind her back. Every strike echoed through the steel like a heartbeat. Her soldiers worked fast, voices sharp as they shouted ranges, shield readings, and weapon charges. Kane leaned close, his voice low but fierce. Commander, they're pressing harder. If this keeps up, we'll be breached. We need to call for reinforcements. Ilara's eyes stayed locked on the shifting shapes outside. No one can know we are here, Kane. No signal leaves this station. You know that. Kane's jaw tightened. He knew she was right. For decades, their mission had been silence. Hidden guardians at the galaxy's edge. If they called for help, every empire would demand answers. Every species would learn what the humans had buried in the vault. And then the galaxy would never be the same. A blast shook the station so hard the lights flickered. Sparks burst from the ceiling. A voice cut through the chaos. Shield at 60%. Ilara's voice was calm, but each word cut like iron. Hold the line. Every ship that falls here is one less to threaten the galaxy. Below them, in the docking bay, the Volari crew huddled together. They flinched with every tremor, their thin bodies trembling. The Volari captain stood apart, his gaze locked on the heavy doors leading deeper into the station. His breathing quickened, and his fingers twitched as if he wanted to move but didn't dare. He whispered to himself, almost too quiet to hear. It must not open. If they reach it, nothing will stop them. Kane noticed. He marched forward, grabbed the alien by the shoulder, and spun him around. What do you know of the vault? Speak. The Volari's crest drooped, his eyes wide with fear. I told you, we were only couriers. Forced to carry fragments, pieces of what you left behind. But I saw enough to know. I saw the fear in the KRYTH. They do not chase us for revenge, or for territory. They chase us because they believe you are still what the galaxy whispers, monsters who once walked like gods of war. Kane's grip tightened. And if they're right? The Valari's voice shook. Then you are the only ones who can stop them. But if they take what you guard, Commander, then even gods will fall. Above them, the station shuddered violently. A new alarm wailed. Breach in Sector 7, an officer shouted. They've launched boarding craft. Ilara's voice was sharp. Seal the inner doors. Deploy counter teams. Kane didn't wait. He slammed his helmet on, grabbed his rifle, and headed for the lifts. I'll lead the counter. Ilara didn't stop him. Kane was a weapon forged for this very moment. The boarding alarms echoed across the steel corridors. Red lights pulsed as soldiers rushed into position. Then came the sound, the grinding shriek of cutting torches as the HFY forced their way through the hull. When the breach finally burst open, smoke and fire poured into the corridor. HFY warriors stormed through, their armor jagged, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They moved like predators, their weapons curved and brutal. Kane's voice thundered. Fire! The humans unleashed hell. Rifles spat white bolts that lit the corridor. HFY fell, their armor cracking under the force, but more pushed forward, climbing over their dead without hesitation. The fighting was brutal, close, and bloody. HFY claws slashed through armor, and human blades struck back in return. Every inch of ground was contested, every step costing lives. But slowly, the HFY pressed deeper. Ilara watched the battle reports streaming across her screen. Every corridor taken was another step closer to the vault. She felt a cold weight settle in her chest. 4 years, the vault had been silent, sealed, its contents untouched. Even she did not know everything it held. But she knew one truth. If the HFY opened it, the galaxy would never survive. Her voice carried across the command deck. All units. Fall back to inner defense lines. Protect the vault at all costs. The soldiers obeyed. Hallways were abandoned, doors sealed, new barricades raised. The humans fought like wolves, falling back only to strike harder. But the HFY didn't stop. They wanted the vault, and nothing else. In the docking bay, the Valari captain sank to his knees, clutching his head. His voice cracked with despair. They won't stop. They'll tear this station apart until they find it. One of Ilara's younger officers turned to her, his voice trembling. Commander, if it looks like they will break through, should we destroy it? The words hung in the air like a blade. Destroy the vault. Destroy everything humanity had hidden here. Ilara's gaze hardened. That order is mine alone. Until I give it, you fight. You all fight. Outside the station, HFY ships tightened their grip, pouring more fire into the shields. Inside, their warriors pressed closer, their savage roars echoing through the steel corridors. The battle for the vault had begun. And deep within, behind layers of unbroken doors, something ancient stirred in the dark. The station shook like a dying beast. Every corridor echoed with the roar of weapons, the clash of steel, the screams of war. The HFY were inside now, carving their way through the defenses, driven by one purpose. The vault. Commander Ilara stood in the control room, her face lit by the red glow of alarms. She listened to the flood of reports. Losses, breaches, retreat after retreat. The humans were holding, but only just. Kane's voice burst through the comms, rough and heavy with battle. Sector 9 sealed. We bought time, but they're pressing harder. Too many. Ilara's jaw tightened. Fall back to the inner defense line. Do not let them past. A pause, then Kane's reply. Understood. But if they break through, Commander, you know what must be done. Ilara didn't answer. Her gaze turned downward, to the sealed levels deep under the station. The vault. 4 decades, it had been their burden to guard, their oath to keep. Now, for the first time, that burden trembled. In the docking bay, the Valari captain sat slumped against a wall, his breathing shallow. One of Ilara's officers demanded again. What do you know about the vault? The alien's eyes lifted slowly. Not enough. Only whispers. That it holds what you humans swore never to use again. That it was built after wars so terrible the stars themselves wept. That if it opens, none will survive. The officer's hand tightened on his rifle. Then why did you bring this danger to us? The Valari's voice cracked. Because the KRYTH will never stop. Better you face them than the galaxy face what they unleash. Before more could be said, another alarm shrieked. A new breach. The KRYTH were spreading like fire. Kane led his team through a smoke-filled corridor. His rifle spat white light, each shot dropping a KRYTH warrior. But for every one that fell, 2 more surged forward, their claws gleaming, their roars shaking the steel walls. Blood smeared the floor. Bodies lay twisted where humans and KRYTH had fought to the last breath. Still, Kane pushed forward, his armor scorched, his blade dripping. His soldiers followed, every step slower, every breath heavier. Then came the sound. A new sound. A deep, distant hum. It was faint, but enough to make every soldier pause. The KRYTH paused too. For the first time, they hesitated. Kane narrowed his eyes. The hum wasn't from weapons fire. It wasn't from the station's systems. It was deeper, older. It was coming from the vault. Ilara, he growled into his comm. Something's happening down there. In the control room, Ilara heard it too. A vibration through the steel floor, a low pulse that felt alive. She turned slowly toward the screens showing the sealed vault doors. The heavy steel trembled, faint blue light spilling from the cracks between panels. The vault was waking. The Valari captain's eyes went wide. No, no, it cannot. You swore never to open it. Ilara spun toward him, her voice sharp. We didn't open it. It's opening itself. The Valari recoiled, terror spreading across his face. Then you've already lost. Outside the station, KRYTH ships circled tighter, their weapons hammering the shields down to their last strength. Inside, their warriors pressed forward, clawing through barricades, desperate to reach the vault. Ilara's second-in-command spoke quickly, fear breaking his calm voice. Commander, if that vault opens, we don't know what comes out. We can't control it. Ilara's gaze was steady. If the KRYTH reach it, they'll use it to burn the galaxy. If we destroy it, we erase our last defense. Either way, everything changes tonight. Kane's voice came again, rough with strain. We're falling back to the vault doors. We'll hold them here as long as we can. But Commander, you need to decide. Do we unleash what's inside, or do we end it forever? Ilara closed her eyes for a brief moment. She saw the oath she had sworn, the silent years of waiting, the lives built around guarding this one secret. And now, in fire and blood, that secret demanded to be answered. The hum from the vault grew louder. The steel doors glowed brighter, lines of energy crawling across their surface like veins of lightning. The floor shook as if something vast and angry stirred behind the walls. The KRYTH pushed harder, sensing it, craving it. They screamed in fury, their blades slamming against human shields, their claws dripping with blood. Kane raised his rifle one last time. Commander, give the order. Ilara opened her eyes. Her voice cut through the chaos, hard and unshakable. Hold the line. Whatever happens, humanity decides the fate of the galaxy. Not the KRYTH. The vault groaned, its doors beginning to part, light spilling into the dark like the breath of a waking god. The sound grew unbearable. The vault's hum was no longer faint, it shook the entire station, a deep vibration that rattled the bones of every soldier. Lights flickered, consoles cracked, and the steel doors glowed with white fire. The KRYTH screamed as they pushed forward, their roars mixing with the station's alarms. But for the first time, there was fear in their voices. Fear of what was coming. Kane stood with his soldiers at the last barricade. Smoke and blood filled the corridor, but no one broke. His rifle was almost empty, his blade slick with black KRH blood, yet he stood tall. Behind him loomed the vault doors, trembling, alive. Ilara's voice came through the comms. Kane. It's opening. Hold until I arrive. Kane spat blood onto the floor, then reloaded with shaking hands. We'll hold. But if this thing is worse than the KRYTH, Commander, I'll end it myself. The KRYTH charged again, their claws slamming against shields, their weapons sparking. The corridor became a storm of fire and screams. Human soldiers fell, but each death slowed the KRYTH. Kane fought like a wolf, his blade carving through their ranks, his roars matching theirs. Then the vault doors groaned. With a thunderous crack, they began to part. White light poured out, blinding, cold and sharp as ice. The KRYTH froze. Even the fiercest of them stopped mid-charge, their eyes glowing wide, their bodies trembling. They knew this light. They feared it. Ilara arrived with her guard, her uniform torn, her face smeared with smoke. She looked at the opening vault, her expression unreadable. What have we kept here? One officer whispered. The doors opened wider. Inside was not a weapon, not in the way the galaxy understood. It was a chamber of black steel, carved with ancient symbols. And in the center, standing within a field of shimmering energy, was a figure. Tall, armored, human. The figure's armor was unlike anything the soldiers wore now. Dark, plated, lined with glowing veins of blue light. Its helmet was shaped like a predator's skull, its shoulders broad, its hands curled into fists that looked strong enough to crush steel. The chamber pulsed as the figure stirred. Slowly, its head turned. Its eyes opened, burning white, cold and merciless. Gasps filled the corridor. Even the KRYTH stepped back, their courage breaking. Kane's voice was low, almost reverent. A sleeper. Ilara's heart pounded. The truth struck her like lightning. Humanity had not only hidden weapons here. They had hidden warriors. Ancient warriors, frozen in silence, waiting for the day they were needed again. The armored figure stepped forward. The energy field around it cracked and shattered like glass. Each step echoed, heavy and final. A KRYTH warrior screamed and lunged forward, swinging its blade. The human didn't raise a weapon. It caught the blade with one hand, crushed it like paper, and snapped the KRYTH's neck with the other. The alien dropped lifeless to the floor. The figure turned slowly, scanning the corridor. Its eyes locked on Ilara. For a long moment, silence. Then a voice spoke. It was deep, distorted through the armor, but every word was clear. Who calls me from sleep? Ilara straightened, her voice strong. I am Commander Ilara Vance of the Guardian Station. The KRYTH seek to breach this vault. They want your power. They want to burn the galaxy. The figure tilted its head. The KRY, still alive? Its voice was heavy with old memory. Then the war never ended. Kane stepped forward, his blade dripping. What war? The figure's gaze shifted toward him. The first war. The war your kind swore to bury. We were sealed away to keep balance. If we rise, it means the galaxy is already lost. The hum in the vault grew louder. Behind the armored figure, more chambers began to glow. Shadows of more warriors stirred, faint outlines moving inside their prisons of light. Ilara felt her blood run cold. There are more of you. The figure nodded slowly. Thousands. A legion built to end worlds. But know this, Commander. Once we wake, we do not return to sleep. The KRYTH shrieked in terror. Their charge broke. For the first time, they fled, scrambling over one another to escape. They knew what humanity had hidden. They knew what was now awake. Ilara's soldiers watched them fall back, but none felt relief. Because the true fear was not the KRYTH anymore. It was what humanity had unleashed. The armored figure stepped closer, towering over Ilara. Its burning eyes pierced her. Decide quickly, Commander. Do you unleash us fully? Or do you seal this place again and pray the galaxy survives without us? The vault behind him thundered as more chambers opened. And the station shook as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. The HFY fled into the dark, their screams fading as their ships pulled back from the station. For the first time since the battle began, silence filled the halls. Only the hum of the vault remained, steady and alive. But the silence did not bring relief. Commander Elara stood before the armored figure, her soldiers watching with wary eyes. None dared to move too close. The warrior's presence was crushing, like standing before a storm-given flesh. Kane finally broke the silence, his voice low. You scared them off. Even the KRYTH fear you. The figure turned slowly toward him. Fear is a weapon. One I was built to carry. Elara studied him carefully. What are you? The warrior's head tilted, the faint glow of his eyes steady. I am Sentinel 7. One of the last. We were forged when humanity still ruled the stars. We were made to end wars the galaxy could not. The words made Elara's blood run cold. She had suspected the vault held weapons, but not this, living weapons, soldiers locked away because they were too dangerous. The Valari captain, who had been silent since the vault opened, stumbled forward, his voice trembling. This is what you hid? Not machines, not bombs, but gods of war. The warrior's gaze snapped to him. Not gods. Executioners. The Valari flinched, his crest flattening in terror. Kane stepped forward, his armor battered, his blade still in hand. If you're as powerful as you look, then why seal you away? Why bury you? Sentinel 7's gaze lingered on him. Because once unleashed, we do not stop. We were too much even for humanity. And so, your ancestors locked us in silence. To be opened only if the end came. The hum behind him deepened. More chambers flickered, faint shadows stirring. Elara's voice cut through. And if we let you all wake? The warrior's answer was simple. Then the galaxy will burn until only humanity remains. That is what we were made for. The room fell into silence. Every soldier felt the weight of those words. Kane's hand tightened on his weapon. Commander, we can't. But before he could finish, the station shook again. Alarms blared. Officers shouted. The KRYTH fleet is regrouping outside. They're bringing reinforcements. Dozens of ships. They're not retreating, they're preparing for another strike. Elara's eyes narrowed. She had seen fear in the KRYTH before. But if they were willing to return, it meant they wanted the vault badly enough to risk even this. Sentinel 7 turned toward the viewport. They smell weakness. They know your shields are broken. They will return in greater numbers, until you fall. One of Elara's young officers spoke quickly, his voice tight. Commander, we can't hold another assault. The station's bleeding power. If they come again. His voice faltered. Elara finished for him. We won't survive. The warrior faced her once more. His voice was steady, cold. Then wake the others. Unleash us. Let us finish what we were built for. Kane's voice erupted, sharp and angry. No. You heard him. Once they're unleashed, they won't stop. They'll slaughter everything, friend or foe. We'll be no better than the KRYTH. The Valari captain cried out, desperation in his voice. Listen to him. If you free them, you will not only destroy the KRYTH. You will destroy us all. Elara felt the weight of every gaze. Soldiers, allies, enemies, all waiting for her decision. She had sworn to guard the vault, not unleash it. But now, the KRYTH were returning, stronger than before. Humanity's hidden guardians were outnumbered, bleeding, and nearly broken. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Sentinel, if I wake them, will they obey me? The warrior's burning eyes locked onto hers. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he spoke. We obey only one law: the survival of humanity. If you are human, if your command serves that survival, then yes, we obey. Ilara's stomach twisted. That law left no room for mercy. Outside, the KRYTH fleet appeared again, ships sliding from the nebula like predators. Their numbers had doubled. Hundreds of weapons glowed as they tightened the noose around the station. Kane's voice broke through the tension. "Commander, decide now." Ilara's fists clenched. She could order the destruction of the vault, end the threat forever. Or she could unleash the Sentinels, save the station, and doom the galaxy to a new age of human war. Her eyes rose to meet Sentinel-7's burning gaze. And for the first time, she gave the order she had sworn never to speak. "Wake them." The warrior nodded once, slow and final. He turned toward the vault. Energy surged, blinding light filling the chamber as more doors groaned open. One by one, shadows stepped forward, giants of steel, warriors of silence, humanity's forgotten executioners. The KRYTH fleet outside opened fire, their blasts tearing into the last of the station's shields. The station shuddered, alarms screamed. And in the vault, the Legion began to rise. The vault blazed like a newborn star. One by one, the chambers opened, their light spilling across the steel floor. Giants stepped out, their armored forms towering, their eyes burning with white fire. Dozens, then hundreds, then more, until the chamber shook with the sound of 1,000 armored footsteps. The KRYTH, who had stormed the station with fury, froze in terror. Even through walls of steel, they felt it, the awakening of something greater than war. Sentinel-7 stood at the front, his voice thundering through the corridors. "We rise again." Ilara's soldiers watched, awe and dread mingling in their eyes. They had trained their whole lives to guard the vault. None had expected to see what lay within. None had expected to fight beside them. Outside, the KRYTH fleet opened fire. Blasts ripped into the station, shields shattering, hull plating cracking. Alarms screamed across every deck. "Commander," an officer shouted. "They'll breach us in minutes." Ilara's eyes never left the Sentinels. "Not if they get there first." The massive warriors turned toward the docking bay. Their movements were heavy, unstoppable. With each step, the ground trembled. Kane ran beside them, his voice sharp. "If they're really on our side, we'd better see it now." The docking bay doors burst open, revealing KRYTH warriors pouring through. They roared, weapons raised, claws dripping with blood. But when they saw the Sentinels, their charge faltered. The first Sentinel moved faster than a storm. His armored fist crushed a KRY's skull, the sound echoing like thunder. Another raised a massive blade, cleaving through 3 enemies in one swing. White light burst from their armor as they struck, their movements both brutal and precise. The KRYH howled in fury, but their fury turned to screams. They had come hunting prey. Instead, they had awakened predators far worse than themselves. Ilara stood at the command deck, watching through the screens. The station shook as Sentinels tore into the boarding parties, their armored bodies shrugging off fire and claws alike. KRYTH warriors died by the dozens, their bodies piling in the halls they once claimed. And then, the Sentinels did more than fight. Their armor glowed brighter, energy crackling around their hands. Blinding white arcs leapt from their gauntlets, burning through steel and flesh. Cannons mounted to their shoulders roared, spitting fire powerful enough to tear ships apart. Ilara whispered to herself, "Weapons and warriors, fused as one." The KRYTH ships outside focused fire on the station, desperate to end the awakening. But the Sentinels had already reached the outer decks. Massive hangar doors split open, and the armored giants leapt into space itself. Kane stared in disbelief. They don't even need ships. The Sentinels moved through the void with terrifying grace, their armor shielding them as easily as a warship. They landed on KRYTH vessels like meteors, their fists punching through hulls, their weapons tearing engines apart. Entire ships split in half under their assault, fire and wreckage scattering across the nebula. The KRYTH fleet, once so confident, began to break. Ships turned, fleeing into the dark. Their war cries became screams of desperation. But the sentinels pursued without mercy. They were not soldiers. They were extinction given form. Inside the station, the last KRYTH boarding party was wiped out. The halls were silent again, except for the heavy steps of armored giants. Ilara's surviving soldiers stared in awe. None cheered. None smiled. Because the fear was no longer of the KRYTH. It was of what stood among them. Sentinel-7 returned to the command deck, his towering form filling the room. He looked at Ilara, his burning eyes steady. The KRYTH are broken. Their fear will spread. Soon, the galaxy will know we have returned. Ilara's voice was quiet, but firm. That was not my order. You were awakened to defend this station. Nothing more. The warrior tilted his head. And yet the galaxy trembles. That is the way of things. Humanity cannot hide now. Our enemies will come. And when they do, we will burn them. The Volari captain stepped forward, his voice cracking. You don't understand. If the galaxy learns you have unleashed these monsters, they will unite, not against the KRYTH, but against you. Sentinel-7's gaze shifted to him, cold and sharp. Let them come. The Volari fell silent, trembling. Ilara's soldiers looked to her. Some with hope. Some with fear. The choice weighed on her like a chain. She had saved her station. She had saved her people. But in doing so, she had broken the oath sworn by generations before her. She had awakened humanity's darkest secret. Kane stepped closer, his armor scarred, his blade still dripping with black blood. His voice was low. What have we done, Commander? Ilara's eyes lingered on the stars beyond the viewport, where KRYTH wreckage drifted like burning ash. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then her voice came, quiet but unshakable. We've reminded the galaxy why they feared us. The sentinels stood in silence, their white eyes glowing like cold suns. The nebula burned around them. And across the galaxy, rumors would already be spreading, whispers of ancient warriors rising again, of humanity's return. The galaxy would never be the same.